changed my life, and I've been thinking about it a lot recently because we're coming up to the 5-year anniversary. At the time of recording this, it's January 2025, and yeah, the lockdown happened sometime in March, I can't remember the exact date, 2020. And what I've been thinking about isn't about the lockdown itself, what happened, but how different life was then to now. And there's a saying, most people underestimate what they can do in 5 years and overestimate what they can do in 5 months. And this is the saying that's been rattling over in my brain over and over and over. I was literally living at my parents'. I was in and out of shape. I had a business that I was resenting. And I felt like in so many different aspects, the walls were crumbling down. There was so much instability in my relationship. Ailey wasn't very well at the time. There was so many things, and I look at life now, like we're currently sat here in Bali, Indonesia, working remotely. We've got Ready for Anything. We've got an incredible bunch of clients. We've got so many exciting things coming up. And I feel the best I've ever felt myself. Like, I felt like for a long period of time, I had a big ball of stress in the front of my head. The nature of running a business. Very, very hard. But I just don't feel that anymore. Yeah, I still get stressed, I still get anxious, but I wanted to come on today and just talk a bit about like my story and what got me from being that guy, still living with my parents, still questioning how I was going to crack it, what I was going to do. And by the way, I by no means in any way believe I have cracked the code, but I just know that I'm exactly where I need to be and I'm moving in the right direction, and I've got a lot of certainty when I say that, and I definitely didn't then. And I want to take you through where I was, where life is right now, and the key points of, let's call it inflection, the moment that actually really kind of took me from there to there. Because I speak to a lot of guys and girls that want to level up their life, they want to level up their bodies, they want to level up their mindsets, and they don't even know where to start. I'm going to take you over a journey of 5 years and break down exactly what I done, the key points, and my lessons that I encourage you to do so that you can experience massive success across every part of your life, across your body, across your relationships, and your business and your professional life, whatever it is you want to do. Because when you do the work and you do the hard reps and you show up when you don't want to do it, that is where confidence and success lies. So I want to kind of kick things off with like who I am. I'm Kristian Hill. I'm the founder of Ready for Anything. Myself and my partner Ailey run a business together. It's wildly successful right now. I am so fucking proud of it. So much so I got it tattooed on my arm that you can see right there. And yeah, like we love traveling, we love training, we love competing, and over the last few years we've been doing it a lot as everything's grown and evolved, and we just decided at the start of last year, why not go all in on this? So we gave up our house. We stopped residing in the UK, and now we just live from place to place. We've been doing it for the last few months, and life is good, man. Like, very, very grateful to be in the position that I'm in. We're in Uluwatu in Bali. We've been in this villa for like 12 hours, less than 24 hours, and it's incredible. We've got our family coming out next month. I'm in a privileged position to be able to actually get flights from a friend to come over from Australia, one of my best mates, Grant. Life is good, and I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I'm able to have every single day, and it's something that I do. Like, by the way, like, I'm not kidding on, like, I'm some sort of super grateful person that's always in la la land, that doesn't have any anxiety, stress, worry. If anyone knows me, they will know that that definitely happens, but I definitely feel that everything's moving in the right direction. So we'll kick things off with essentially where life was. So at that given point, I'd left the military for about 3 years. I'd been off and on, I'd had my own business, and funny story, when I left, I didn't even know I was kind of starting my own business. I just kind of fell into it. Like, I went to this gym, I was going for a job where someone was going to pay me a regular salary, I was going to get basically mentored by someone, taught the trade, and that's what I thought I was going for. And very, very quickly, the guys at Lifestyle Fitness were like, this guy is capable enough to have his own clients, get his own clients, and anyway, they kind of convinced me to do that. And yeah, I'd done that for a good few years. I set things up. I moved back home from living away for 5.5 years in the military. And in 2017, I moved back in with my parents. I was 23 years old. And yeah, I'd done that for a good few years. And in that time, one of the big reasons for me leaving the military was I was really, really not fulfilled. I was starting to resent what I do. I didn't want to live where I wanted to live. It was so many things, the position that so many folk get into where you're just sitting here going, I can actually start to see the path of what's laid down in front of me. And being honest, I probably sat on leaving for about 2 or 3 years. Like, I don't even know how long it was. It was a long time ago now, but I knew it was never going to be a forever thing, but I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to step into. And for me, training was the vehicle like that gave me everything that I have now. Like, when I went on my first deployment and in my second deployment, I was obviously into the gym, into training, into looking after myself. I look back at my results then and they weren't that impressive, but they were better than other people. So people started asking me, Kristian, can I train with you? Can you help me get in good shape when we're away? And I started to build myself up like a little bit of a portfolio. Before I knew it, I started kind of asking myself the question, like, can I make a career out of this? And 2016 was actually the year that I decided to make the jump. And yeah, like I was partying, I was taking drugs, like I wasn't a junkie or anything like that, but I was living for the weekend and I was living a life that I knew I wasn't proud of, man, and I knew I wanted to change, and I was doing the gym thing. I was almost living like two people for a very long period of time. Anyway, made that jump, took action, and done that for years, and I had this like level of belief in myself that I was destined for great things, but year upon year, nothing really changed. I got some more clients, I got some more results, but ultimately, like, I look back at it, that's just the cost of growing, guys. Like, the cost of being successful is feeling unsuccessful for a period of time. That was like my reps phase where I was putting in the reps and not really seeing a huge return, but you have to do that. You have to do this in life, you have to do this in business, you have to do this in the gym. You need to do a lot of things, make a lot of mistakes, and not see a ton of progress to actually feel what that feels like in order to go to the next level. And yeah, I got to like end of 2019, and like mid 2019, I started to fall into bad habits again. Like I started to take myself more seriously in 2018, but then lo and behold, fell back into it. I was partying more again. I was going back into that cycle, living for the weekend, and I just knew that at the end of 2019, something had to change because I didn't like my job that much anymore. I was unfulfilled in it. I knew I wanted to be a coach, but I didn't know what the next level was. And there was a couple of guys in my gym, a couple of people that I followed, and like James Smith, Jamie Alderton, and one of my friends, Andy Banks, who was at my gym. And I could see that he was doing much better than everyone else. Like he had a solid business model. He was getting better results. He was making more money. And I was like, what the fuck's he doing? Anyway, I'll go into that after this, but that was my main point right there. 2019 was my breaking point again, like starting to fall into that weekend warrior sort of guy again, like living like two people, feeling like a bit of a fraud because I was trying to be this high performance Kristian, but then I was being like low performance Kristian, right? Anyway, basically then decided, Andy, can you help me? Can you give me some advice? Who's this guy that you're working with? Like, who do I need to contact? What do I need to do? And he's like, Kristian, how about I just help you do exactly what I have done? And yeah, like you pay me, and yeah, it's exactly what he done. He just taught me his model. So I started to create a bit of a model for the boot camp I was running at the time. I started to create a bit of a model for my personal training. By this point, it was like January 2020, right? So exactly 5 years from now. And obviously around that time I was piecing everything together, I was working on it, and what began to happen at the end of February, we started to see that the world was closing down. We started to see that things were drastically changing. We started to think that we were going to go into this wee 2-week lockdown. But no, this is one of the key points. Andy took me into that wee back room that sounds so dodgy, and he just said, Kristian, people don't realise how serious this is. He had a mentor at the time, I believe it was an American guy that was in amongst all these people, and he was like, Kristian, we need to make a contingency plan here. We need to create a business that isn't face-to-face because it's not going to be there. And this was a huge turning point for me, guys, like huge turning point on like actually thinking strategically and taking action before everyone else did. So me and Andy, we both done it separately, drafted up a bit of a plan and a strategy. I took my boot camp online, made everything completely online. My clients at the time, online was like a lot of live workouts, man, like a lot of calls. Like I was so busy. Anyway, a week before the lockdown actually happened, I closed shop. I stopped working at the gym and I went fully online with this offer. And it was a proper pivotal moment because everyone was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? This is silly. Anyway, long story short, man, obviously everyone knows what happened. We went into a fucking national lockdown and a lot of things changed, and for me it was a huge turning point for me because I was taking things more seriously. I was going through a shift in identity. I was like, if I want to actually pivot and take action here, I need to grab this opportunity when it comes right now. And I just watched so many people not see it as an opportunity. I need to rewind back the clock. I'm not trying to give the hero story here. I was scared, I was worried. There was a lot of like anyone else, like what do I do here? But I just looked at this thing that was presented to everyone else as a huge inconvenience, as an absolute opportunity. That was like one of the major moments of inflection for me. And it just allowed me to just do everything that I needed to do. It just allowed me to go all in on my business. It allowed me to go all in content. It allowed me to go all in my own training. And around that time, I'd never really like clicked with training. I'd went through a transformation. Like I'd went through phases where, you know, what it's like I'd never really like built that 365 consistency that I was having, like year-round results, like in good shape all the time. Yeah, I always trained and I never messed with that, but that never ever clicked. Anyway, that's when it well and truly clicked. I started taking everything more seriously. And this is something I want to say to you guys, right? And you may be watching this and you're not a coach, but it's completely relevant to you. I started taking my own advice way more seriously as a direct result of taking my coaching way more seriously. So because I was no longer just focused on that 1 hour in the gym or that 1 hour with a client, I was starting to think about how can I get my clients better results? How can I actually look at the other 167 hours and not just the 1 hour in the gym? And as a direct result of that, I was consuming so much content. I was improving my own behaviors and habits. I was walking the walk and living and breathing what I was teaching my clients. And I was just totally immersed. And I went through this sort of point that I believe everyone needs to go through, where they become truly obsessed with everything that they're doing. Like I just became obsessed with transformation, with fitness, with developing myself. And there was regular burnouts at that time. There really, really was. Like I was pushing and progressing, but I really wasn't understanding like how to best manage my boundaries and my energy. I remember like working really late, working really early, getting up and doing work first thing in the day, and then going and doing other things and replying to people. And it was a little bit messy, but the drive and ambition and hunger that I had, like I can't explain it. Like I just had this like fucking hunger. I felt like I have been presented an opportunity here and I'm going to grab it by the horns. And ladies and gentlemen, what this is going all in. I talk about this regularly. I've spoke about it in other podcasts and other YouTubes. Like I just went from playing the game at like 80%, 90%, doing good, seeing good results, to like I just went 110%. And this is what's known as a shift in identity. And you need to wrestle with the pig version of yourself for a long period of time. And I did. I wasn't being true to myself. I wasn't being fully authentic with who I wanted to be. And again, what the lockdown done for me was it just allowed me to become so selfish. And I still do this to this day. I am obsessed. Like I am absolutely obsessed with progress. Like I'm obsessed with growing, developing. Like, why did I start this channel? Like, why am I still investing in coaching and mentoring? Why am I still consuming regular content and personal development? Personal development and professional development is one of my highest values. If I do not do that, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel happy. I don't feel like I'm making progress. And when you become truly obsessed with something, that is called finding your purpose. Now, that block from 2017 to 2019, I'd found my purpose. I just didn't know it was my purpose. And I just like felt like for me, 2020 was a huge moment of inflection. It just allowed me to just be 100% true to myself and go all in. And this like brings me on to some other points as well, is like I was no longer forcing to anyone who I needed to be. For a long period of time, as I was changing and evolving as a person, as I was going through the shift of taking my training more seriously, taking myself professionally more seriously, like changing, shifting and becoming a business owner, not just someone that trades money for time, I was fighting with a former version of myself, the pig version of myself, right? I like that. I just made that up today. And I didn't realize I was doing it when I was doing it. I was doing it when I was going to meet people in my life that, it's not that I didn't like them anymore. It's not that I just wasn't aligned with them anymore. We just didn't have the same values. We didn't enjoy the same things. And I found myself putting myself in certain environments and situations, certainly around how I behaved at the weekend. And I felt like I was forcing myself. And when you're forcing yourself to try and be someone, you not only get bent out of shape physically, you get bent out of shape mentally. And you are not truly aligned with who you're trying to be. And I see so many clients in this exact same spot where they don't even realize they're doing it. They're just, and you have to sit in that pain, guys. You really, really do. And this was me for such a long period of time. Like I fought with it. But for me, like 2020 was was a huge pivotal moment. It really, really was, and everything from that point just went up a gear. So before we move on, I just want to say one more thing. If you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure that you have subscribed to the channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do it. I'm making a lot of content right now. I'm not doing it for any reason apart from to inspire other people, help other people, and influence other people to do exactly as I have, so that you can live what I like to call the ready for anything way of life that I've really, really discovered. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure that you hit subscribe and go and do it for me, please. So yeah, like the big one was obviously no longer forcing who I was and just being that person. Like I stopped focusing on the to-dos and I started focusing on the to-bes. But going back to the point I'd mentioned already about working with my friend Andy, around the time of like late 2020, early 2022, I knew that my time with Andy was coming to an end. He'd really, really helped me over the last sort of like 10 to 12 months. He really made me see a higher version of myself. Which was great. It was epic. And at that same time, I'd actually committed to taking on an Ironman, which was massive for me. It'd been like a pipe dream. I'd really dedicated so much to that. So I was pushing professionally, pushing personally, saving a lot of money. Like I was putting away money for a house and stuff, but then I was also pushing professionally. I was just in this total growth mode at the time. But that was another pivotal moment for me, was making the biggest investment myself that I'd ever had. In 2021, I believe it was. So I'd also been doing the podcast. So there's so many different things that happened. So like, we'll go back to that point. But anyway, the point I'm trying to get to here is that in 2021, I made one of the biggest investments that I've ever made in myself and joined a coaching mentorship. It took a lot of money and it was a big worry. It was a big worry because I'd never done it before. It wasn't a worry. Like I knew I was going to do the work to get the result. But that was a life-changing moment for me, because what it just done was it showed me the power of being in an environment of people that are way ahead to you. The saying goes, all ships rise to the tide. And I'd experienced this before. I'd experienced it athletically. I'd experienced it in competition, pushing myself, testing myself, but never to this extent. These were people that were, again, they're all living their own lives. They all have different things that they want, but these were guys and girls that just had incredible businesses, mindsets, levels of ambition that I'd never been exposed to before, and it was completely online. It was when I worked with Phil Graham, and yeah, just like it took my mindset through like a complete paradigm shift again. Like if I wanted to go to that next level, I had to take that the next version of myself even more seriously, and that's what I'd done. And this was just like a huge catapult for me. But going back to the last point, what was a catalyst for that was in 2020, I started the KDH podcast at the time it was called. It's now the RFA podcast, which you might be listening to this on if I've uploaded it in audio and you're listening to it in the audio format. But yeah, like the podcast for me was massive because it allowed me to expand my network. And I recorded an episode every single week. I had so many incredible guests on, chats on. You can actually go back and listen to them all. They're all still there. I've done like over 200 episodes at the time of recording this episode right now. And yeah, like I didn't even realize how much these conversations and networking like really began to influence me, influence my thinking, influencing my actions, influencing my behaviors, all through really solid conversations. So I cannot stress the importance enough of just meeting new people in different worlds that are and having great conversations, because that's where I actually met one of my best mates, Lewis McFarlane, who's actually currently out here right now at the moment, not in this villa, but he's actually out in Bali at the moment doing the exact same as what I am as well, living life in his own terms, just fucking chasing goals, hungry as ever. And yeah, like I met Lewis, and it was actually Lewis that influenced me to join in this mentorship. So the biggest second key point I really want to add into here is that like you are your net worth. Like you are the value of the people that you spend the most time with, because all these different connections, conversations just instigated so much radical growth in my life, because it just made me see the world through a different lens. And as a result of that, I just started taking further action. Like the saying goes, like you can go far on your own, but you can go further with others. I think that's the saying. Anyway, I don't think it is. That was a huge turning point for me, because yeah, it just put me into all these spaces and environments where I ended up meeting my coach at the time, Joe Parrish, and that mentorship as well, and Joe played a huge part in my life. And the funny thing is, it's quite cathartic speaking about all these things right now. Like, I hope you can see the trend here. It's the people that I put myself around, and it was the investments that I made myself, because you take things more seriously when you put your money where your mouth is. Like, you really, really do. And it just forced me to do that. Like, as a result, I just invested myself seriously, taking myself more seriously. All of the results in my life just got more serious. And I've been saying this a lot recently. Serious inputs, serious results. Bang average inputs, bang average results. So the version of me in 2020 that was late 2019 going into early 2020, it was still at home, in and out of shape, still struggling with how he was living at weekends, like battling two versions of himself. I just hadn't done any of this stuff. I'd done it and like I dabbled in it. Like I thought I had, like I'd paid for a few courses and different things, but like I was just dipping my toe in the water, man. Like I was not going all in. And for me, like I just went all in. The lockdown just forced me to go all in and just start like seeing the value in this. And the funny thing is, like, you might be watching this right now and you might be sitting there going, right, look, I know that investing myself is going to help me, and I know the power of coaching, yet you still haven't done it. Like, you've still not done it. You might be sitting there right now like, yeah, I know, I've not done it. Like, do it. Like, take action. Worst case scenario, you get better. Like, no one's ever regretted investing in developing themselves. Like, no one's ever went, yeah, I went for this like huge personal development journey and it was a massive disaster. Nobody has ever said that. So yeah, the biggest thing for me, the moments of like inflection and key points where having like a make or break moment, starting to see a version of myself that I did not like, and then just starting to put myself in spaces and environments that really, really forced me to evolve. So yeah, going back to the sort of athletic standpoint, because we're not just talking like coaching ready for anything here. We're talking about the full thing, right? The full circle. So another big point I'd mentioned already was working with my coach, Joe Parrish. Like Joe, I learned so much from Joe, not just in a physical standpoint, but he taught me a lot. Like even things that it wasn't even what he said, it was how he said things, like how he's seen the world. Like he taught me a lot. And this was like when everything came together from like a hybrid standpoint. Like as I mentioned already, in 2021, I'd just done obviously my Ironman. Then right after that, I signed up with Joe because the Ironman was a bit of a disaster, man. Like it got pushed back because of the pandemic when the pools shut, and then France got put on the yellow warning list or whatever it was. Anyway, bit of a disaster, but I got there in the end and I ended up doing the Dalesman, which is a full distance Ironman. And it taught me so much about myself. It taught me so much about discipline. It taught me so much about commitment and what's required to get to somewhere, like what it actually takes to do something exceptional. And around that same time, I started working with Joe. But working with Joe and then Dan Reeves, who then came into the picture when Joe hired him as head of athletic performance, like just taught me the next level. So I'd learned like this sort of like taking myself more seriously personally, taking myself more seriously professionally, learning what it was to have 365 non-stop progress, taking on a huge event and challenge. But I felt like there was something missing. I felt like I am doing all these things. I've done all these things that I wanted to do, but I was almost still like a bit of a house of cards. Like I wasn't piecing it together. I mentioned it already, but my energy was up and down. I was regularly burning out. And I really resonated with Joe's story at the time. And yeah, I ended up working with Joe for around 2 years, and it was huge. Like, just repeated everything I've been saying. By this point, I just felt like I was in a bit of I was committed. I knew what was required. It was just like setting a goal, setting a target, going to the next point, pushing myself, testing myself. And all this time, like, everything just got better and better every single year. I just set my goals even higher. I took the questions that I asked myself even more seriously, and I would really say it was just a compounding effect then. There was so many highs, so many lows, so many challenges, so many setbacks, and I look at every single year from 2020 to now, and it just gets more and more exciting. But see, the funny thing is, guys, if you're watching this and you follow me on Instagram or you've been following me regular on YouTube or my podcast, whatever it is, you see that I am just following the same blueprint as I've done then. Like every single day I have ritual and routine. I'm always embodying something that's testing me and pushing me. At this moment in time, I'm training for a sub-80 half marathon. I'm training for high rocks. I'm doing 90 days of abstinence from alcohol. I don't need to be doing any of these things, but what I have realised is that like the thing that got me to the dance in the first place is the thing that I need to keep doing. I don't need to keep training for an Ironman. But what was it, the Ironman? The Ironman was a period of disciplined training that I did not want to do. Therefore, how can I embody that in some other way, shape or form? The 90 days of abstaining from alcohol, that's me doing it right now. So the more I have succeeded in life and got to this point right now where I'm at in life, is that I've realized that there is no secret. It is genuinely about having a framework, a bigger vision, and making sure that you are regularly doing things in your day and in your week that you don't want to do, that builds up resilience, that builds up discipline, and it allows you to just continue plowing towards it. But I would probably really say it's been the last 1 to 2 years that the fulfillment part's really started to come in, because I know I'm telling you this story right now about all the things that I've done, all the things that I've achieved, but the thing that I've not really spoken about is over the last few years, I have suffered a lot with poor mental health. Now, I've not really identified it as that. It is what it is, like, because I don't want to put that label on it. Like, I'm not saying I'm pretending that I was better than I was. Like, if anyone's followed me for a period of time, they know I speak very openly about this stuff. But yeah, like, in all this time of pushing to new levels, like, I have put innate amounts of pressure on myself to do the things that I do, to run the events that we do for Ready for Anything, to get our clients the results that we get, to meet the targets and metrics that I set for business year upon year, to compete at the level that I want to compete, to achieve the goals that I set out. And I've learned a lot over the last few years, especially about pressure and taking too much on. Definitely 2023 into early 2024, I went through like a really low point in my mental health. And it was just massively to do with like pressure and growth and financial pressure as well. That was a big one, like just growing things at a rate that we probably weren't ready to grow, like not really being savvy with planning, finances, budgeting things, being strategic. Like, yeah, acting like the person that takes things more seriously, but not really also acting like that in some senses. So yeah, like I went through like so many different points of losing myself to find myself, but in that burnout cycle for a long period of time. But what I've just really found out now is that, like, if you want to operate at that level athletically, if you want to have a high performing and successful career or business, whatever it is that you do, you need to make sure that you are living in line with your values every single day. That's why my morning routine is so important to me. It's why that I will never ever compromise my sleep. It's why I will never put a client in front of my own mental health. It's why I've got strict boundaries in place when it comes to the things that I do with work and what I do. Yeah, I work a lot, I train a lot, I do all these things, and I don't get it right all the time, but you are only as strong as your personal boundaries. And I have really solidified my personal and professional boundaries. And I've got really clear on the things that make me fulfilled, make me happy, and allow me to be and operate my best. Because the thing is, guys, that I hate to break it to you, that you don't get to a point and you go, oh, I've cracked it. You live a life that is by design that you want to live. You don't live by default. You don't just get to a point, achieve a transformation, get to a certain income bracket, tick off an event and go, oh, that's it sorted. You're creating a life and a blueprint that allows you to actually feel fulfilled. And you're not going to feel fucking happy all the time. You're not going to feel that it's sunshine and rainbows. Like the rule of thirds, you're going to feel buzzing, maintenance, and then sometimes you're not going to feel that good. And I'd be worried if you didn't, right? But you need to make sure that you've got the exact framework and strategy to get the most out of yourself. And the way that I look at things is that if I was to repeat this week for the next 52 weeks, would I be happier, healthier, in a better spot than what I am right now? And that's the question you need to be asking yourself. Anyway, guys, that is my sort of journey from January 2020 to January 2025. Going from being the guy that was in and out of shape, living with my parents, feeling like the walls were crumbling down in business, to being in a spot where I really do feel like expanded, enlightened, like light and just hungry to grow. I've crushed so many limiting beliefs recently. I feel so good, and I just want to help more people do that as well. So yeah, so I hope you took a lot away from this. I hope you enjoyed it. As I mentioned already, obviously, if you haven't subscribed. And if you're interested in working with us and actually going through a massive amount of success, growth, and change in your life, do not hesitate to hit the link below and lock in for a discovery call, and we can grab a chat about how we can help you go through a similar transformation in your life if you can resonate with my story and what I've went through as well. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed. See you later. Goodbye.